Not live. I love all of y'all with all my heart. Sometimes you're a little mean to the preacher, but I love you. If you have been teasing me about my outfit today, I think a light color suit is perfect on a 97-degree day in Michigan. But I've been teased about, well, you're wearing a Deep South lawyer suit. I don't know what that means, but I know Matlock had a lot of style. And I do declare there's been a murder in Savannah. I mean, it is what it is. But it's a perfect day. It's hot and it feels like home. It's good. But I'll tell you, if you took a nap today, it was really hard to wake up. Anybody have that problem? So since it was turned to 960, we haven't sang this one in a little while. You may know it. You probably don't need to turn over there. I'm not going to turn over because I'm not sure what verses will evolve as we sing through. But we'll just see where it goes. It's me, oh Lord, standing in the need of prayer. It's me, oh Lord, standing in the need of prayer. Not my father or my mother, but it's me, oh Lord, standing in the need of prayer. Not my father or my mother, but it's me, oh Lord, standing in the need of prayer. 'Cause it's me, oh Lord, standing in the need of prayer. It's me, oh Lord, standing in the need of prayer. Not the elders or the deacons, but it's me, oh Lord, standing in the need of prayer. Not the elders or the deacons, but it's me, oh Lord, standing in the need of prayer. It's me, oh Lord, standing in the need of prayer. It's me, oh Lord, standing in the need of prayer. Who's got a verse? Not my brother, not my sister, but it's me, oh Lord, standing in the need of prayer. Not my brother, not my sister, but it's me, oh Lord, standing in the need of prayer. It's me, oh Lord, standing in the need of prayer. It's me, oh Lord, standing in the need of prayer. Another one. Not my husband, not a husband, not... How do I phrase that? Husband or wife? Because I can't say not my husband or my wife, then that'd be really weird. I don't know, not my spouse or my kids. Not my spouse or my kids, but it's me, oh Lord, standing in the need of prayer. Not my spouse or my kids, but it's me, oh Lord, standing in the need of prayer. 'Cause it's me, oh Lord, standing in the prayer. Did you have one? It's me, oh Lord, standing in the need of prayer. What is it? Not my grandpa or my grandma, but it's me, oh Lord, standing in the need of prayer. Not my grandpa or my grandma, but it's me, oh Lord, standing in the need of prayer. It's me, oh Lord, standing in the need of prayer. It's me, oh Lord, standing in the need of prayer. How wonderful would it be if everyone always, rather than pointing fingers, looked in the mirror and said, it's me, oh Lord, standing in the need of prayer. Let's turn over to Ruth chapter 3. Ruth chapter 3. We've talked about Ruth's noble choice and Ruth's diligent work. We're talking tonight about Ruth's trusting plea. And I hope that you've been impressed as we've worked our way through this final biography in our series that we stretched out over a month to look at the entire book of Ruth, who is certainly one of the greatest female heroines of the entire Bible. As we look at Ruth, who didn't start out a part of God's people. She started out a Moabitess. She was a worshiper of pagan gods. She was not connected to the God of Israel. She married into just an absolute disaster of a Jewish family. A family that was not only filled with a lack of faith in that they left their people in a time of famine to escape instead of trusting God, but they broke the very foundation of the law of Moses when he married her in the first place. So she marries into a Jewish family, but it's not very much help. It'd be like a non-Christian marrying into the weakest or the least consistent or the most hypocritical Christian family that could ever be imagined. And then her father-in-law dies and her husband dies. So her and her mother-in-law are left here absolutely destitute. And what does her mother-in-law do? She turns to God in faith and she says, it's all right, the Lord will take care of us. No, 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 no. She becomes a bitter, bitter old woman who all she can say is look at all the disaster and blame God for all the calamity and tell her daughter-in-law, you need to leave me now and let me just die. You can go, you're still young enough, pretty enough. You can go back to your father's house, get another husband, and you'll be fine. There's no hope for me. But even in the midst of all that, even though her sister-in-law leaves, Ruth says, no, where you go, and we all know that famous speech from chapter 1. Where you go, I will go. Your people will be my people. Your God will be my God. And where they bury you, they will bury me. And she shows just the most remarkable character from just the most amazing source where you wouldn't expect it. Now, I've seen that a few times in my life. Have you ever seen remarkable character where you wouldn't expect it? I mean, I've seen that before. I've known kids that were raised in the worst circumstances imaginable, and they've got such a stellar character and work ethic and just the kind of virtue that you would never expect. But that's because we see the good side of free will from time to time. We see the bad side of it all the time. But from time to time, we see that glorious ability people have to choose, regardless of the circumstance they came from. Well, Ruth is one of those special circumstances in Scripture. Now, as we look at chapter 3, we know that they've come back to Israel. The famine's over. The fields are producing again. And in chapter 2, she's been going out into the field of a near kinsman by the name of Boaz, a rich farmer. And under the law of Moses, there was a provision, their own version of a state welfare system, where God had decided and dictated that farmers had to leave whatever they couldn't get as they were gleaning in the field for the poor to be able to come and collect. So that even the poorest would have a source of food and sustenance in the land. And so she's going out and she's doing what all the others who are destitute and desperate are doing, gleaning in the fields. And this owner of the field, Boaz, takes notice of her. They have an exchange. And now we start into chapter 3. And it tells us in verse 1, that Naomi, her mother-in-law, said to her, my daughter, shall I not seek security for you, that it may be well with you? And now, is not Boaz our kinsman, with whose maids you were? Behold, he winnows barley at the threshing floor tonight. Wash yourself, therefore, and anoint yourself, and put on your best clothes, and go down to the threshing floor. But do not make yourself known to the man until he has finished eating and drinking. And it shall be when he lies down that you shall notice the place where he lies, and you shall go and uncover his feet and lie down, and he will tell you what you shall do. And she said to her, all that you say I will do. Now I want to start off and kind of explain a little bit of this. This just seems weird, doesn't it? He's sleeping in the field. During the time of harvest, that was pretty common in that time for several reasons. They're working, getting up early in the morning working. They're working late at night. And so it was just more convenient. Oftentimes the fields weren't exactly particularly close to where they lived, so they would travel to them, the owners of the field, the workers of the field. There's also an issue of there's bandits and there's thieves and all of these other things. So it was pretty common for them to sleep in the field. Now this idea of her going and uncovering his feet and laying at his feet, we have to be clear that we're not mistaking that for something more sinister than it is. Something sensual or something in some way seductive. That's not what's going on here. To uncover his feet, you'll look all the way through Scripture, and feet have a great significance in regard to respect and honor. Jesus, he would do what with the disciples in the New Testament? He'd wash their feet. That's the greatest honor. When someone walked in your house, I mean, if you lived in a world that was as hot as it is today, every single day, and you walked on dirt roads all the time, and you had exposed sandals, when you go in somebody's house, the grossest part of your body would be your feet every time. And so what a sense of honor and humility for your host to get down on their hands and knees and wash your feet. So feet are going to have this kind of sense of honor and propriety. You'll remember that when it talks about the armor of God, it talks about the feet shod with the gospel of peace. And it'll tell us how beautiful are the what of those who share the gospel of Jesus Christ? How beautiful are the feet. So there's a symbolic importance in the Jewish culture to the feet. So she's to go and uncover his feet and lay at his feet. This is an indication to him of submission and really of reliance upon him. Now, make no bones about it. No mistaking. She is saying, basically, will you marry me? This is a proposal in this. But it's not a proposal based upon romance, although I think it seems pretty clear that Boaz and her don't dislike each other. There's some interest in one another. But it's based upon the law of Moses. Because it is, in some ways, she's requesting of him that it is his obligation to marry her. Look at verse 6. So she went to the threshing floor, and she did according to all the mother-in-law had commanded her. And when Boaz had eaten and drinking, and his heart was merry, he went to lie down at the end of the heap of grain. And she came secretly and uncovered his feet and lay down. And it happened in the middle of the night that the man was startled and bent forward, and behold, the woman was lying at his feet. And he said, "Who are you?" And she said, "I am Ruth, your maid. So spread your covering over your maid, for you are a close relative." Now this is a request for him to take her as wife, protect her, provide for her. And the reason is, you'll notice that Naomi had pointed out before she ever suggested this, he is our kinsman. He is our kinsman. Deuteronomy chapter 25 verses 5 through 6. If brethren dwell together and one of them dies and has no child, the wife of the dead shall not marry with unto a stranger, but husband's brother shall go into her and take her as his wife, and perform the duty of a husband's brother unto her. And it shall be that the firstborn which she beareth shall succeed in the name of the brother which is dead, and the name shall not be put out of Israel. So what the law of Moses had dictated is that if a woman was childless and her husband died, it was the responsibility of her brother-in-law, her husband's brother, to now take her as a wife, and if they were to have children, those children would bear the name of his dead brother. That way, the line and the family would not cease to exist. So she's going to him as kinsman. Now, the way this would work is that if that brother was gone also, then it would extend out kind of farther and farther among the kinsmen. But Boaz is indeed one of her husband's relatives. That's what Naomi's been so excited about. He's one of her husband's relatives. Now, as we continue through, in verses 10 through 15, it tells us, "Then he said, May you be blessed to the Lord, my daughter. You have shown your last kindness to be better than the first, by not going after young men, whether poor or rich. And now, my daughter, do not fear. I will do for you whatever you ask, for all my people in the city know that you're a woman of excellence. And now it is true that I am a close relative. However, there is a closer relative than I. Remain this night, and when morning comes, if he will redeem you, good. Let him redeem you. But if he does not wish to redeem you, then I will redeem you. As the Lord lives, lie down until morning. Lie down until morning. So, she laid at his feet until morning and rose up before one could recognize another. And he said, let not be known that the woman came to the threshing floor. And again he said, give me the cloak, and you hold it. So she held it, and he measured 6 measures of barley, and laid it on her, and she went into the city. So the circumstances is, now she says, makes this request, you're my nearest kinsman, will you care for me, will you take me as your brother's wife, to be your wife to father children? He realizes instantly this is a noble request. It is not a pressure on him. It's a different culture than we live in. It's totally weird. I get it. But he doesn't react negatively at all. He doesn't feel pressured. He doesn't feel that this is inappropriate. He is quite flattered. Do you see that? Quite flattered. And so this is an honor for her to ask this of him. But he is a man of integrity because he says, yeah, boy, this sounds good. But there's a closer relative than I. So there's somebody closely related to her dead husband, more so than he. And so he says, even though I desire to do this, I can't until we see if he passes on it. Then I'll have the ability to do so. Which speaks to Boaz's character. It also speaks to Ruth because he said, everybody talks about how excellent you are. What just a sweet, precious couple we're talking about here. Especially since you're talking about a very young lady and a very old man. Do you get that from the text? Because what did he say? He said, well, basically he says, I'm floored by this because I figured you'd go after somebody young. He's clearly not young. But I think it's so intriguing and such a testimony to her character that she looks at the man he is. And she's not as concerned with his age. Because you see, that's a problem. If he's too old, the whole purpose in all this, what is the besides being able to eat and survive, of course, but what is the real concern for Naomi and her? Whether or not she has any children. So him being an older man, in some ways, that's a less desirable union. He knows that. Surely she knows that. But she sees this man, his character, and this is what she pursues. And then we close out the chapter, verses 16 through 18. And when she came to her mother-in-law, she said, how did it go, my daughter? And she told her all the man had done for her. And she said, these 6 measures of barley he gave to me, for he said, do not go to your mother-in-law empty-handed. And she said, why, my daughter, until you know how the matter turns out, for the man will not rest until he has settled it today. All right, just a couple messages from this text. The first thing I want us to see is, first of all, trust in God. That's a very simple and a very oft-repeated message, but this story just shouts the need for us to be a people who trust in God. Because Ruth has nothing. She has no future, she has no hope, and Naomi is in an even worse circumstance. She's not in an age where she'd be desired by younger men to care for her. She has no one to care for her at all, except Ruth, who's a foreigner. And yet, in it all, Ruth trusts God. And God, in His magnificent providence, opens doors and paves the way. I wonder what it would be like to just witness the life from an outsider looking in perspective of a person who in every circumstance would just trust the Lord. And just to see, if you could see through the spiritual world, all the times that God is pushing aside this temptation, opening this door, putting an angel to block out this devil or demon that is coming to offer temptation. just again and again and again, all the ways that the Lord is providing for and paving the way for those who trust in Him. But Ruth's life is a testimony to that providential provision, that providential care for those who trust in Him. A little poem called "Leave It to God" says, does the path seem rough and steep? Leave it to God. Do you sow but fail to reap? Leave it to God. Yield to Him your human will. Listen humbly and always be still. Love divine your mind can fill if you leave it to God. Is your life an uphill fight? Leave it to God. Do you struggle for the right? Leave it to God. Though the way be drear and long, and sorrow will give place to song, good must triumph over wrong if you leave it to God. If in doubt just what to do, leave it to God. He will make it plain to you. Well, sometimes it takes time, but eventually He will make it plain to you. Leave it to God. Serve Him faithfully today. He will guide you all the way. Simply trust Him, watch, pray, and I would add, obey, and leave it to God. That's why one of my favorite songs in the book is "When We Walk with the Lord of His..." I didn't mean to sing it, but we will. "What a glory He sheds on our way, while we do His good will. He abides with us still, and with all who will trust and obey. Trust and obey, for there's no other way to be happy in Jesus but to trust and obey." Trust in God. Secondly, trust in good men and women. Because she had to trust in Boaz. That was her only option. She had to trust in him. And you know, we live in a world where to trust in people, the thing is that everybody in here has had some human being let them down. And I hate to break it to you, but everybody in here is going to have another human being let them down. And even those we should be able to trust the most at times fall to their humanity. God doesn't let us down. People do. Even good people. Even trustworthy people. But we have a choice. Do we choose to trust again? Or do we not? God uses in His providence to guide us, to help us, to provide for us, to open doors, to close doors. God uses good people. But we have to trust for Him to use those good people. We have to be vulnerable. We have to open up and rely on others. Because if we don't, then we limit God's ability for His providence to provide and to lead the way. Does that mean people will always be everything they're supposed to be? No. But I think if you just choose to trust anyway, you'll be surprised at how often they're even better than you expect them to be. That's been my experience most of the time. So trust the Lord. Trust in good people. And God can and will provide. Tonight, if you're in any way in need of that provision, if you're struggling, if you need prayers or encouragement, or you just need to be able to say in faith, Lord, to trust you again, and I need to open up and trust others, whatever it is. Don't delay. Come right now as we stand and as we sing.